There we are. My name is Lois, and I'm going to be doing this comprehension class with you all today. The focus today is vocabulary in context. That's our kind of like topic for today. So we have done some of these classes before, if any of you have come along previously, but yes, I can see some of you opening your hands up so that you have, which is great. So thank you for coming along again. Today, we're going to be focusing on vocabulary specifically. Now, just a small note before we start, just to keep things calm and manageable for myself. We won't be unmuting at any point. Everyone keep on mute. And if you would like to share any answers or, respond to any questions, please just use the chat for that, because otherwise it's going to get a bit hectic because there's so many of you here today. But what I will try and do is look and read some of your answers as they come up in the chat. So please do get involved. So hopefully everybody's got something to write with. We're going to be doing quite a few different tasks today, so there'll be something for you to get involved in as well. All right, let's make a start. Vocabulary in context is an area of comprehension that students often struggle with. And that's simply because they're quite challenging questions. So the kind of questions I'm referring to here, I'm sure you're all familiar with these. When you get given a word in an exam question, it'll ask you to define it, or it'll ask you to explain what it means. It's usually one of the words from the passage that is going to be unfamiliar to you, right? They're not going to give you a word like good to explain, or like, dark. They're going to give you a challenging word. And so we have to practice strategies to help us figure out what it means, even if we have no idea. Right, that's the point. So let me just click on to my next slide. These questions, they involve you being able to explain or define a challenging or difficult word in the text. Now, the most useful thing for you, I'm going to say right at the start, is something that we call context. Now, this is obviously in the title of this masterclass today, Comprehension with Vocabulary in Context. And this is a big element of it, which we're going to practice today. So context, what I mean by that is the sentence in which the word has been used, because it doesn't, okay, let me rephrase. Sentences can change the meaning of words depending on how that word is used. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what I mean. So, I'm just going to pause for a second because I wanted to mention something. Just to say that at 1 o'clock, at the end of this class at 1 o'clock, we are going to have a parents Q&A. I was supposed to mention that at the start and I forgot. So if you do have a parent who would like to answer questions in our last 15 minutes at the end, you can get them to come along at 1 o'clock. Anyways, so context. Words can change meaning depending on the sentence in which they're used. So I've got two examples here, and I want you to see if anyone can explain how the meaning of the word has changed. Okay, so in the first sentence, it says this: I decided to write a letter to tell my grandparents all about the holiday. Okay, that's sentence number one. Sentence number two: it was essential to get all the details right down to the letter. Now, have a think. In the chat, I would like you to see if you can explain, how has the word letter changed in meaning from these two sentences? Have a think and write me your answer. What has changed about that the meaning of that word? It's the exact same word, but the meaning has changed because of the sentences. Okay, I've got some answers coming through. I'll just give everyone a moment to send something through. So Shrihan has said the first one means a handwritten letter, and the second one is from the alphabet. Yes, good. And Geet says letter one is like a postal letter. Letter two is down to every small detail. Exactly, well done. Dennis, one means a letter sent by post, and the other means a figure in the alphabet. Great. Sentence number one, Aaron, letter as in a letter for someone. Sentence number two, a letter from the alphabet. Good, exactly. So we have to use the information that we get given. For example, in the first sentence, it says that we're going to write the letter and you're going to tell someone information. So you're going to, obviously, it's going to be a handwritten letter. Then in the second one, we can use the context such as words like details. When we say down to the letter, we mean be as specific as possible, right? So that's why we say down to the letter, get every tiny thing correct. We're not referring to a handwritten letter, we're referring to an alphabet letter. So you have to look at the rest of the sentence and look at the other words that have been used. In this case, we've got the verb write, and we've got the word details, which helps us to understand what kind of word letter, what kind of meaning letter has in each sentence. Here's another example. Just click onto the next page. Okay, so see if you can tell the difference here between the two forms of soldier. So the first one, the soldier looked very smart, standing in his position outside of Buckingham Palace. That's the first one. Second one, even though the mountain was steep, we decided to soldier on. So what's the difference between those two versions of soldier? What is the difference? You can also think about, have they been used as verbs, adverbs, nouns, adjectives? Has the word been used as a different word type? Have a think, let's see what people say. Okay, yes, a lot of you are noticing that one is a verb and one is a noun. You're totally right. The first one, yes, is the noun, and the second one has been used as a verb. So let's see, we've got Chamath saying first soldier means warrior, good, like the noun, person that fights. Second soldier means to carry on, brilliant. Let's see, yes, noun and verb. Samrudi says in the first sentence, the soldier means the person in the army, whereas in the second sentence, the soldier refers to carry on. Yeah, brilliant. Yes, I think most of you are getting these correct. So you can see that the way the sentence has been written is going to change the meaning. And of course, you're looking for clues, for context. In the first sentence, it says the soldier, first of all. So we've got that determiner the before it, so we know it's going to be used as a noun. Also, we know that they are standing outside of a palace, so we can infer that they are a person that's employed to guard, so therefore that tells us that it's an actual human soldier. The second one, clearly a verb, because we've got that word to in front of it, and we've got the context of the challenge, the steep mountain, which shows us that they are actually needing to be brave and carry on and climb. So those are two fairly simple examples. Hopefully you can see like those fairly easily how the difference can be made with depending on how the sentence is used. But this is the kind of thing I mean. This is why context is so important, why we have to read the rest of the words in the sentence to help us understand the meaning of the challenging word that we've been given. So, sorry, let me just click through. We're going to try a range of different questions today. These are sort of how the vocabulary questions might look. There's sort of 5 types. So you've got questions that refer to closest in meaning. You're expected to find a word that is closest in meaning to the word you've been given. You have some questions which refer to alternative wording. I'm going to explain all of these in just a second. You've got define it questions, find and copy questions, and then multiple choice. Now, because all of you are likely doing perhaps different exam boards and different, tests for your 11+, there may be a range of different question types that you're all going to be tackling. Some of you may just be doing multiple choice. Some of you may be doing more descriptive writing, like longer written answers for comprehension. So we're trying to cover these as generally as possible. So this is still going to be useful for no matter what exam board you're going to be on. So let's just quickly talk through. Closest in meaning questions are typically you get given an example of a word from the text and you have to find or select a synonym of that word. Okay, so fairly straightforward, usually multiple choice for those. Alternative wording is where you are given a phrase in the text and then you've got options as to how else that could have been said. Sometimes they might ask you to explain it in your own words. They give you a phrase and you have to rephrase it in your own words. But these are all still vocabulary. Define it is simply where they just say, what does this mean? And you have to explain it, define it as clearly as you can. Find and copy is probably the most straightforward. You get given a word from the text and you have to find and copy its synonym, or maybe they say, find a word that means blank, and then you have to find that word. So that one's more just spotting it and copying it down. You don't have to use your own words for questions like that. And then, of course, we do have multiple choice questions too, where, it might be one of those 4 varieties, but it's in a multiple choice form instead of writing it out in full. So I'm going to talk through a few little strategies for how you can answer these questions. You've got a few little tasks to complete now, and then we're going to do some longer passages and practice some of these different question styles. So the first strategy I'm going to give you today is to identify parts of speech. And actually, let me just click back a slide just to hide something. What do I mean? Does anyone want to tell me, what do I mean by parts of speech? Like, has anyone heard that phrase used before? If you're asked to explain what part of speech is this, we're going to have to keep on mute because otherwise it's going to be a bit chaotic. So if you do have an answer, please put it in the chat. What does parts of speech mean? Can anyone explain it to me in the chat? Okay, good. I can see a few people getting this correct. Exactly. It's word types. Yes. Verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs. Exactly. Now, this is a really useful thing to do when you are doing your vocabulary questions, because typically, especially if it's multiple choice, the best synonym is going to be the one that is definitely the same word class. So, you might have, let me give you a random example. Let's say that the word that you have to find a synonym for is loud. Okay, now what word type is the word loud? Can anyone tell me what word type loud would be? It's an adjective. Yes, I can see some of you saying adjective. So then maybe in your options, you have the word shouting. Now, why is shouting not the best option for that answer? Why is shouting not the right synonym? It's a verb, exactly. It has a similar meaning because it's referring to something that is noisy and loud, but it's a totally different part of speech. So first of all, you look for what part of speech is it, and then you can eliminate the options that are not that part of speech. So let's do some examples. Let me just click forward to here. Okay. What I want you to do, your task for this question is I'm going to read out the sentence. You've got a word in bold and you need to identify what part of speech it is. That's it. Nice, simple task. So first one, Apollo played on his lyre and the muses sang. What type part of speech is that? Oh, hang on, I have to flick down to the end. It's a noun, correct. Does anyone actually know what a lyre is? Or can we kind of guess what it is based on the rest of the sentence? Well done. It's a stringed instrument. Yes, it's kind of like a harp, I believe. Good. And you can obviously use the rest of the context to help you. Played and sang. We know that it's going to be something musical. Brilliant. Okay, next sentence. What part of speech is this? He broke a twig off the tree and started writing in the dirt with it. What type of word is twig? It's a noun. Most of you have got that correct. It is a noun. And you know what? I'm not going to ask you to explain what twig means. I feel like everybody's going to know that. Excellent. And of course, you can use the context from the sentence tree. It's something about to do with a tree. It's all there for you. Okay, next one. What part of speech is this? During the meeting, the secretary documented all important discussion topics and later emailed the notes to all workers in the office. I'm just going to get my pointer so we can see a little bit clearer. So the word documented, what type of word is it? It's a verb. Correct. It's a verb. And you can see that because it obviously follows the noun, the person that's doing the documenting. Excellent. Okay, next one. There is empirical evidence that shows that human activity is contributing to global warming. What type of word is empirical? Excellent, well done. Oh, sorry, my screen has just flicked off. There we go. Correct, it's an adjective, empirical. Everybody has got that. You're right, Mira has said it means evidence. It means, well, it doesn't mean evidence. It means like hard, fast evidence with, based in fact. So good, that is an adjective, empirical. And then finally, the last one, what part of speech is this? The menu for the wedding was predominantly meat, but there were some vegetarian options. What kind of word is that? What part of speech is it? Well done. Well, some of you are saying adjective, but it is actually an adverb. Can anyone tell me how we know that it's an adverb? How can we tell? Excellent, it has ly. I mean, usually adverbs do end in ly. There are some adjectives that end in ly, such as like lovely, but this one particularly, it's an adverb. It's describing the verb was. So that is why it's an adverb. Always look for the verb that the adverb is describing to help you figure out what it is. So there we go, brilliant. So that's one first method you can use, guys, is to identify what part of speech is it, and then find the options that definitely are that exact same part of speech. If you've been given an adjective, you're likely going to need to give an adjective as your answer. If you've been given a verb, you need to give your verb as a synonym. So there we go. Just turn that off for a second. Okay. The second strategy is to do with roots. Identify the root of the word. So this is something that is really useful. This doesn't always work, okay? This is not always going to work, but it's a useful strategy to have up your sleeve, right? So the root just means, you know, where did that word come from? What is the main root of that verb? Have there been any suffixes or prefixes added to it? Has the verb tense changed? You know, have they added on any extra letters? If so, can you remove them and find out what that central root word would be? Because then if you can figure out the meaning of the root, you can usually help you to work out the meaning of the whole word. So you might be able to remove something from it and kind of split it into its little parts. So let's practice a couple of these. Some people are asking, what does predominantly mean? Predominantly, from the last question, it means mostly, largely. There was mostly meat. So here's some questions. Let's just go to the next page. Okay, so for each one, there's a word in bold, and I want you to find the root word of that word. Okay, so the first sentence here, Harry experienced a lot of prejudice when he first started his new job. So prejudice, can anyone find me the root of that? Now, I can see a lot of you have just removed the word pre, and some of you definitely have got it, yes. Think about okay, actually, never mind, I wasn't going to ask that question. I'll wait until everybody's... Okay, I can see a few people have got this correct. The root word of prejudice is judge, okay? Because you remove the pre, which it means before, right? Is just turning it into a noun. So the root is actually judge. Because does anyone want to explain their understanding of what it means to be prejudiced, to experience prejudice? What are we doing when we are showing prejudice towards someone? See if you can figure it out. Remember that pre means before, just means to judge. Can anyone therefore explain what it means? You're judging someone when? When do you judge them? Think about that prefix. Essentially, yes, a few of you have got it. You judge someone before you know them. That's what prejudice means, right? It means to judge somebody before you know them. So if Harry's experiencing a lot of prejudice, that means people are assuming things about him before they even know him, before they get to know him. So if you get that word, look, okay, I know that pre is a prefix. I'm going to remove that. Jud in the middle there, jud. What other words do I know that start with jud? Okay, judge. Justice. Obviously, a judge is used to create justice in the law, right? But if you put together pre and jud, you've got before and judge someone before. So you can sort of go through that strategy of finding that little root word and then joining it up with the prefix to find its new meaning. Okay, oh my goodness, 37 messages. Okay, yes, you're all correct. Those of you who have said that is to judge someone without them knowing. Okay, let's go to the next one. Root words. Remember, this is just the root. The birthday cake was unusual as it was in a triangular shape. Now, I want you to see if you can find some root of this. Now, a lot of you are saying triangle, which is correct, but what about the root of triangle? What's the root of triangle? And what does it mean? The root is tri, yes, T-R-I, which means 3. So in this word, the root is actually that tri, meaning 3. So the gula part is sort of it's the word that changes it into an adjective, right? That's the suffix that changes it into an adjective. And so the tri means 3, and angle means, to have those angles in the shape, 3 angles, and then it's an adjective with la on the end. So for that one, the root is tri, meaning 3. Okay, next one. Rachel often looked with regret on her misspent youth. What's the root there? Yeah, good. I think a lot of you are getting this correct. Spent, yes. Spent meaning to use something up, right? So if the root is spent, what does it mean if something has been misspent? Think about where else you've seen other words that start with the prefix miss. Yes, good. Lots of you are getting this correctly. Not used properly, spent wrongly, wasted, spent in an improper way. When you use something badly, not used. Exactly. So Rachel here, she's saying, oh, I didn't use my youth correctly. I should have used it better. And remember that the sentence also refers to regret. So we can see it's something that's a mistake of some kind. Obviously, mistake, something you did wrong. We've also got the prefix of miss. So you've got to be using your knowledge of prefixes and roots to figure out what that word could mean. Okay, 2 more. After the operation, Daniela was immobile for several weeks. What is the root of immobile? Excellent. Good. A lot of you are saying mobile. And so what does mobile mean? If you are mobile, means good. It means moving. So immobile means, what does immobile mean? Unmoving, exactly. So you think about other words that you know that start with impossible, I can't think of any others, immature. So it means like the opposite, right? The opposite of mobile. And think about also mobile. I know a lot of you are going to know these, but think about other words that you know that have mobile in them. Automobile, right? A car, something that moves by itself, or you move it. Or a mobile, like that you hang on the ceiling for a baby, right? That moves around. So you can use other ways in which you've seen that word referred to and what it means to help you understand words. One last one. Fortunately, there was an effective intercity transport service which allows commuters to travel easily. Okay, what is the root of that word? What's the root of intercity? Well done. Most of you have noticed that the root is city, yes, because it's got that prefix inter. So anyone want to tell me what they think that by adding on the prefix inter, how does it change the word? What does inter mean? Do you know any other words that start with inter? I'm thinking of words like international, interactive is another good one. So interactive means that you can do something, you can connect and communicate between you, right? It's interactive. There's something between you. International, between cities, connected with different cities. So I think a lot of you have got this correct. Between cities, yes. So what's this saying about, let me go back to my sentence, the transport service? What was so good about it? What was so good about this transport service that this particular city had? Yes, Dennis, good. It can go to multiple cities. Sadwaka, it traveled between cities. Cyan, it could go across cities. Good, that's the main thing. So look at the prefix inter, meaning between, city, so it goes between cities, so therefore it can go from one city to another very easily. Okay, so hopefully this is useful for you to see kind of the strategies that you can use to help you tackle an unfamiliar word. All right, I've got one more brief strategy for you. This is quite a straightforward one, but sometimes you may have a word that is really unfamiliar and you've just got to try and group it into a very general synonym. because sometimes that can still get you a mark if you're really, really unsure. So for these next few questions, we're going to try predicting what the vocabulary word might be by replacing it with a general synonym based on the rest of the information in the sentence, okay? So here's your first sentence. Lovely purple hydrangeas were in bloom in the gardens. Now, what's a way you could very generally replace the word hydrangeas? Excellent. Flowers, yes. Flowers or plants, I guess, but flowers I think is the most specific, because I have read several texts with students where they come across a flower word like rhododendrons or chrysanthemums or something, and they're like, what on earth does that mean? But if you are able to see that they are growing, they're in the garden, they're colorful, therefore you can tell, right, it must be a flower. So don't worry if you don't know exactly what that specific flower is, just say that it's a flower. Okay, next one, let's try the second one. Yesterday for dinner, I had a delicious enchilada. That would be an example of a meal, yes, a type of food. Obviously, that's a nice, easy one because it tells us that it was for dinner. Food, a dish, good, a snack. I think food, it would be better because it says, you know, dinner, it's a whole meal. Yes, excellent. So don't worry if you don't know exactly what enchilada means. Use the information that you have and say that it's a food. Now, this next one, we already had this sentence earlier. So let's see if we can do it again, but with this strategy. Apollo played on his lyre and the muses sang. Now, what would be our general synonym here? Good, it would be that it's a musical instrument. And we know that because it says that he played it and the muses sang. Okay, next one. The father said to his son, I do not condone this behavior. You must be punished. Give me your smartphone now. Okay, good. So we've got a good variety of answers here. Allow, accept, like, tolerate. Excellent. And what are the clues that you know that that's what that means? Are there any clues in the text that says that he does not like what he's doing? Yes, exactly. Punishment. We know that clearly whatever he's done is bad enough that it needs to be punished. Excellent. And of course, we've got the phrase do not as well, which is we must pay attention to that. We must show that it's the opposite of what he likes or the opposite of what he wants. Brilliant. Final one for this strategy. Universal healthcare would naturally increase America's taxes, I should say. I should edit that and get rid of that. But also alleviate many problems in the current American healthcare system. So what might alleviate mean? So let me just go to my... Okay, great. Got some good answers here. We've got relieve, lessen, decrease, make smaller, reduce, solve. Excellent. Take away, get rid of, reduce. Yeah, loads of good answers here. Minimize, decrease, diminish. Excellent. And what are our clues there? What are the clues that this word means to get rid of something? There's a word in the sort of the first part of the sentence. Yes, in the first part of the sentence, it says that they would naturally increase. So we've got a word in the first part of the sentence that means to make something more, right? But then with that connective but, that conjunction but, we know that the opposite word here is going to mean to reduce something. So we're looking, that word alleviate is the opposite. So the first part is saying, yes, something would increase, but something else would decrease. So reduce, get rid of, decrease, relieve, any of those words are great. Okay, thank you everyone so much for... Okay, perfect. All right, let's move on. So now for the next part of the class, let me just do a quick time check so that I know how I'm doing. Oh, goodness me, gracious me, it's already past. Okay, I'm going to try and speed up. All right, We are going to be reading a few passages today to practice some of these vocabulary questions from the novel Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now, I don't know if anybody's familiar with this novel. Maybe they've come across it. Yes, I can see a few people putting thumbs up. Excellent. It's a pretty famous novel, so I'm not surprised that a lot of you have heard of it, which is great. Dennis, I did so many comprehensions. Yeah, this one probably does come up a lot because it's a classic, right? It's a classic. It will often appear on your comprehension. That's why I've used it, right? Because there's a good chance that you might get it in an exam. So I've chosen just a couple of short extracts from the novel, some from chapter 5 and some from chapter 6. And all we're going to do is use them to help us practice some vocabulary questions in a few different styles. So the first passage is from chapter 5, in which Jane goes to, or someone can't see the screen. Hold on, let me do it again. Is there anyone else that can't see the screen? All right, so this passage from the novel comes from a section where Jane is fairly young and she is trying to make some friends. And so she tries to talk to a girl at school who's reading a book. So you can already see that I've already put a few words in bold, so pay attention to those words because they are going to be coming up later on. I have noticed as well, just as a little side note, comprehension extracts, depending on which school or which, particularly for independent schools, it's going to depend. They often put the words that they're going to ask you about in bold. So if you notice when you're reading it through, you're like, oh, there's a few words in bold. Pay attention to those words because they may come back to them. So they're giving you that as a little, a little head start. So you know which words you're going to be asked about. Not always, but that does sometimes happen. Okay, I'm going to read the passage and then we're going to try a few questions. Is your book interesting? I had already formed the intention of asking the girl to lend it to me someday. I like it, she answered, after a pause of a second or two during which she examined me. What's it about? I continued. I hardly know where I found the hardihood thus to open a conversation with a stranger. The step was contrary to my nature and habits, but I think her occupation touched a chord of sympathy somewhere. For I too liked reading, though of a frivolous and childish kind. I could not digest or comprehend the serious or substantial. This section is talking about Jane and her reading habits and how she's trying to sort of fit in with another girl at school. So here's your first question. You've got, this one is a closest in meaning question, okay? So here's your question. Which option is closest in meaning to frivolous, which is on the 4th line there? Here are your four options. Does it mean A, pointless, B, silly, C, important, D, funny? Let's see what people are saying. Okay, I've had a few people say, oh, there's a range of different questions here, actually, or other different options, I mean. Some people are saying D, some people are saying A, some people are saying B. So let's look at the context in which it's being used, okay? So it's describing the kind of books that Jane herself usually reads, right? She says, I too liked reading. Sorry, let's put on the pointer so we can see. I too liked reading, though of a frivolous and childish kind. So you're looking for a word that kind of relates to that, relates to a childishness, something that would describe the kind of books that Jane feels that she's reading, in contrast to, very serious books. So hopefully that should help you to give a bit of an idea to your answer. And please, everyone, you only need to put it in the chat once because I've got about 1,000 messages coming through. Okay. Now I can see that a lot of you are very convinced that it is A, and actually I'm going to click on to my next answer. Actually, silly is the best option here. Pointless is very close. It's close to frivolous, but frivolous, the point of something that's frivolous is that it's silly, right? You're doing something that really is quite nonsensical and it doesn't have a great deal of meaning to it, okay? It's silly. Pointless is definitely close. It is definitely a close word. But in this particular context, because she's used the word childish, okay, frivolous and silly are the best linked. So those of you who said A, pointless, well done, you're close. But because of the context, because she's referring to her childish tastes, we need a word that is a bit more closer to that. But those of you who didn't get, if you didn't say C and you didn't say D, you are on the right lines here. Yes, it's something that really doesn't, it's not as grown up as what she thinks that this girl is reading. Okay, here's your next one. Now, the word we're looking for is hardihood, which is on the first line there. And here are your options. Which word is closest in meaning to hardihood? A, livelihood. B, ease. C, confidence. D, curiosity. Okay, lots of answers coming through. So if we just quickly look at how it's used as well, I hardly know where I found the hardihood thus to open a conversation with a stranger. So I think a lot of you, yes, are getting this correct. It is confidence. Well done. Yes, exactly. She's like, how on earth did I find the guts to do that? How did I find the courage to go and talk to someone? And, hardihood as well. If you think of someone as being very hardy, it means someone that's very strong, courageous, gutsy. So there you are. I tried to trick you with putting the word livelihood in, but no one fell for my trick. So never mind. Okay, brilliant. And one more of these. Substantial. Which word is closest in meaning to substantial? So you've got meaningful, heavy, somber, goofy. So she says, I could not digest or comprehend the serious or substantial. Okay, what have I got? I've got some various answers here. Think about substantial. I had, how could I, actually, I was going to use it in another sentence, but there's no point in doing that if we're looking for context here. I could not digest or comprehend the serious or substantial. And remember, look at the sentence prior to that as well. What was she saying that she did like? Okay, for those of you who got A, meaningful, you are correct. In this context, meaningful, substantial means meaningful, right? It has substance to it, because you have to look at the start of that word, substance, right? If you describe someone as having all style and no substance, it means that they are like very flashy about things, but they don't really mean anything in what they say. Okay, so think about the root of that word, substance. If something has substance, it means it has meaning, it has importance. In this context, that is what we're referring to. So well done to those of you who got your answers correct. Okay, next short passage to read. I know I'm doing this quickly, I'm just aware of time whizzing away from me. I'm going to read this next little bit, then you've got a couple of questions. So here we go. You may look at it, replied the girl, offering me the book. I did so. A brief examination convinced me that the contents were less taking than the title. Rasselas looked dull to my trifling taste. I saw nothing about fairies, nothing about genii. No bright variety seemed spread over the closely printed pages. I returned it to her. She received it quietly, and without saying anything, she was about to relapse into her former studious mood. Okay, so this is Jane's response to the book when her friend, or this girl, gives it to her. So we're going to do a few alternate wording questions here. So you've got a phrase from the text, and you have to find the phrase that best rewords, that phrase. So here's what I've written. Which of the following is another way of saying no bright variety seemed spread over the closely printed pages? So these are the options. Does she mean A, there were no illustrations, B, there were lots of interesting storylines, C, there was nothing exciting in the text, or D, the pages were not printed in color? So what do we think? Let's see. I think, actually, I was going to say I think most people are getting it right, but there's a range here. Okay, for those of you who got, C, you're correct. There was nothing exciting in the text. This was a tricky one. I was trying to trick you. She's not actually referring to drawings. I know it sounds like it. She says bright variety, right? But she's not actually talking about pictures. Or she's kind of, she might want pictures, but that's not what she's referring to here. She's saying, there's nothing interesting here. There's no excitement. If you look in the sentence before, she also says, I saw nothing about fairies, no genii, which is like genies. So she's like, there's no magic. There was nothing exciting, no storylines that interested her. So that is why the answer is C. Okay, here's the next one. This is another phrase, and I want you to find the phrase that best rewords it. Which of the following is another way of saying relapse into her former studious mood? Okay, so this is the last sentence or the last phrase of the paragraph. A, relax and finish studying. B, put her books away. C, concentrate further on her studying. Or D, go back to studying. Which of these ones is the most accurate? Think about what this girl did without saying anything. She was about to relapse into her former studious mood. Okay, I think most people are getting this correct. It's D, go back to studying, because to relapse means to go back to it, to go back to something. Meaning, to do something again, right? And also former. Former means what you were doing before, right? So look at the root of former, meaning before. So she's going back to studying after Jane has interrupted her. So there we are. So the answer would be D, go back to studying. Okay, I think I have maybe one more of these. No, I don't. I'm on to the next one now. This is another extract. Now, how am I doing time-wise? Okay, 15 minutes. All right, this next section comes from the next chapter, chapter 6. And same thing, I'm going to read a short passage and then we'll give you a few questions in different styles this time. Okay, this bit is referring to the first time that Jane goes to her boarding school called Lowood. So just to say that's what Lowood is, it's a boarding school. My first quarter at Lowood seemed an age, and not the golden age either. Let me just put on the pointers to follow it for you. It comprised an irksome struggle with difficulties in habituating myself to new rules and unwanted tasks. The fear of failure in these points harassed me worse than the physical hardships of my lot, though these were no trifles. During January, February, and part of March, the deep snows and after their melting, the almost impassable roads prevented our staring beyond the garden walls, except to go to church. But within these limits, we had to pass an hour every day in the open air. Okay, just while I'm here, does anyone want to just give in the chat a brief summary of like what Jane is saying about life at Lowood? What was it like overall? It was tedious and boring. Yes, it was. I can see someone here has said that unwanted is spelled wrong. Actually, this is a different type of want, W-O-N-T. It means, if you are want to do something, W-O-N-T, it means that you are likely to do something. So when she says unwanted tasks, it means like things that she's unfamiliar with, like unlikely things. She doesn't know what to do. They're unfamiliar to her. So yes, it's a kind of an old word. We don't really use it so much these days. But good, yes, some nice summaries here. She hates it. Lowood is a very boring school. She's not enjoying her time. She has a lot of negative thoughts about it. A long, hard struggle. Dull, boring, sad. Yes, it was tediously boring. Yeah, excellent. She loathes it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here's our first question. Now, this is a define it one, okay? So you've got no options here, but you are going to define this word in your own words. You can use, a couple of words if you need. If you need to use a short phrase, that's fine. So explain the meaning of the word. Oh, sorry, I've written work. That should say word. Habituating in your own words. Habituating. So she says, it comprised an irksome struggle with difficulties in habituating myself to new rules. What does habituating mean? Good, some great answers here. I can see a lot of you have identified that root word habit, which is great. Familiarizing, yes. Getting used to something, adapting to something, accustoming herself. Yeah, great. Well done, everybody. So I had a few options here, so you may have something similar to these. Getting used to something, adapting to it, becoming familiar with it, and as you've all identified, habit, yes, meaning something that you do often, something that's part of your regular life, is exactly what she is having to do. She's having to make those rules a habit. Excellent. Okay, here's the next one. Trifles. Oh, did I highlight this? Apologies, I haven't put it in bold, but it's that last word on the end there. An irksome struggle with difficulties in habituating myself to new rules and unwanted tasks. The fear of failure in these points harassed me worse than the physical hardships of my lot, though these were no trifles. She's referring to the physical hardships here. Okay, I can see a couple of people have got this right. If something's a trifle. Okay, good. The people that have got this correct, I can see Flavia, you've said easy tasks. Yes. Small problems, Poppy, correct. Nice things. Yeah, Samriddhi, things of little value. Yes, good. Less important, something not important. Good, Joanna. Trifles, not necessarily or unimportant. Excellent. So she's saying, you know, yes, the rules were hard, but they weren't as hard as, well, actually, they were harder even than the physical hardships, but the physical hardships were still not easy, she's saying. So here are your possible options for those of you who have put answers in. Something along these lines: little things, unimportant things, pointless things. If you have something along those lines, then you are correct. Okay, and we've got one more, another define it question, and this one is the word stirring. So it says, during January, February, part of March, the deep snows and after their melting, the almost impassable roads prevented our stirring beyond the garden walls. Yes, excellent. Some good answers here. Going, movement, moving, traveling, wandering, walking, getting outside. So stirring, in this case, yes, it's referring to the fact that the snow made it impossible for them to go anywhere beyond the garden. So these are my possible answers. I had moving, escaping, going, venturing. So if you had something like that, then you are correct. Someone has said in the chat, what does impassable mean? And, you know, I think this is, as this is a vocabulary, session, did I want to explain that in the chat? Impassable, what might that mean? Think about the root, think about the prefix, impassable. Unable to pass, yes, unable to get past, not able to pass through, exactly. Thank you, everybody. So yeah, the snows are so thick that it means that the roads, you can't get through them. Okay, next, let's move on to one more. I think I have this last passage today, and then we're going to do just the last section of questions. Thank you, everyone, so much for all of your contributions so far. This last section is continuing to explain life at Lowood. Okay, so let's read this through. Then the scanty supply of food was distressing. With the keen appetites of growing children, we had scarcely sufficient to keep alive a delicate invalid. From this deficiency of nourishment resulted an abuse, which pressed hardly on the younger pupils. Whenever the famished great girls had an opportunity, they would coax or menace the little ones out of their portion. Many a time I have shared between two claimants the precious morsel of brown bread distributed at tea time, and after relinquishing to a third half the contents of my mug of coffee, I've swallowed the remainder with an accompaniment of secret tears, forced from me by the exigency of hunger. So what's she describing here? Before we go through the vocabulary, what is Jane talking about? Yes, Bola, she's talking about food. What's she saying about what food was like at Lowood? Not enough food and bullying. Yes, there was bullying, exactly, between some of those older girls and the younger girls. The food was scarce. She was very hungry. Exactly, excellent. Okay, so last few questions for today. Next page. Okay, find and copy. Last type of task for today, find and copy. Find and copy a word that means lack. A lack of something. Now remember, think about, okay, what word type is this? And for this one, you should be able to put the word lack into the place in the sentence, and it would still make sense. Okay, I can see a few people have said scanty. Think about it like this. Then the lack supply of food, that doesn't quite work. Some people have also said scarcely, which let me just find it. We had lack sufficient. That doesn't work either, because remember that lack is well, it could be a verb or it could be a noun. So you're looking for a verb or a noun. You're not looking for an adjective or an adverb. Okay, those of you who have said deficiency, you are correct. It means for deficiency. So not enough of something, right? The lack of nourishment. They have not had enough nourishment. And that's what causes the older girls to bully the younger girls. Okay, great. Next one. Threaten. Find and copy a word that means threaten. Now start off by thinking, okay, what type of word is that? You know, what part of speech is it? And you need a word that refers to the exact same type. Okay, I noticed a couple of people said abuse. Abuse in this case would be a noun, an abuse. So not quite, you're looking for a verb meaning threaten. And a lot of you have got it correct. Menace, yes. Now, some of you have also said coax, but menace is better. And does anyone want to explain in the chat perhaps why? Why would menace be better than coax? What is it about menace? Yes, coax means to persuade someone. Good. Yeah, exactly. Those of you who have said this, coax is not very threatening. It's not very mean. It's not really got any negative connotation necessarily. It's just a persuasion. You could coax someone to like come along to a party with you, for example, because you really want them to be there. But menacing, you know, think about the word menacing as a adjective. It means mean, threatening, dangerous, scary. So there we go. Menace is a little bit more specific here. So there we go. Yeah, there's the answer. The word was menace. And here's the next one. Giving up. Find and copy a word that means giving up. So here, again, it's think about what word type you've got. Giving up. Okay. Yes, well done. Those of you that have said relinquishing are correct. So if you replace the phrase giving up into where it says relinquishing, so where is it? Yes, after giving up to a third, that means like a third student, half the contents of my mug of coffee, I had swallowed the remainder with secret tears. She's like crying as she drinks her coffee. So yes, to relinquish something means to give it up, you know, to like reluctantly usually give it up. And of course, you can notice that the verb endings are the same, ing and ing. That's another way to look for the best appropriate synonym, right, is to look for the ending of the word. Again, won't always be the case, but it does give you a place to start. Okay, relinquish is, for those of you who, I think someone is saying they can't see it, the word relinquish is just here, relinquishing. Okay. Oh, someone is saying, why is it not swallowed? Because swallowed means to like drink something. They're not giving up the remainder. Giving up the remainder would mean to give it away, but they actually get to drink the remainder. They get to drink what is left. All right. There we go, relinquishing. Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to switch off the laser pointer. Okay, I think for now, we are pretty much out of time, and let me just see. Yes, I think that is us for today. So I think we have hit just about 1 o'clock. So just a little summary. Oh, hang on a second. Just a little summary before I pass over to the parents Q&A. For vocabulary questions, you have plenty of strategies to be thinking about. You know, if I whiz back to the start of the slides, try and use those strategies that we've been talking about. You know, think about identifying the part of speech to help you. Look at what tense it's in. Look at what type of word it is. Look at the word ending. That can really help you to identify what word it is. Think about the root. Think about if you can recognize a prefix, if you can recognize the central word, if you can recognize the ending, how does that change the meaning? And then, of course, think about general synonyms as well, ways that you could perhaps replace the word with a simpler word that would still maintain the meaning of the sentence. So I'm going to leave it there for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for, again, all your hard work. And if any of you have parents who would like to come along and ask questions in our chat now, do feel free to do that, because we're doing a 15-minute parents Q&A now until 1:15. So I'll just skip to the end of the page. So here we are. So there we go. Yes, do please pass on to your parents if they would like to ask questions. I will be here for the next 15 minutes. Thank you, everybody. I will just wait for some parents to join, and then we'll have Preeti as well to answer some questions. Those of you who are sending messages, could you send it to everyone rather than just to me, so that the other that Preeti can also see the questions as well.
Hi, Louise. Thank you so much. It was a lovely lesson. So yeah, I'm getting question here, but I think they are coming to me, and I don't think you are able to see it.
I can see some, but some are coming to me, but some I think are going to you as well. So we might have to work through them.
Okay, then. I'll read it. Do you have any reading list for year 4 over the summer? Yes, we do have a reading list, and our team will share the website link with you here. Now, the next question is, do you do one-to-one tuition? Yes, we do a lot of one-to-one tuition. Renuka, please share our one-to-one tutoring link. We do a lot of assessments, as well as we do a lot of one-to-one tutoring as well. There is a next question. How much do you pay monthly? So if you are joining our weekend classes, I will show it to you on the screen. Yeah. So Akanksha, if you go to the 11 plus courses on our weekend classes, if everyone can see the screen, you can see here. We do have £99 per month subscription where you can join the lessons. These are run by our team, and it's really excellent course for the last few weeks or months, you can say, and you can see the entire schedule which is given here starting from June until September. There is 1 week of free trial, so definitely you can start taking joining this class. You can see here there is a start your free trial option, and you can take a free trial. Are there any recommended reading list for comprehension practice? Yes, we are going to send you all the list in the email as well as in the chat here. You can visit our website and check all the list. There is a question, Louise, here. Please suggest best resources, workbooks for standard style comprehension or independent school exam. So I will just show our parents. If they go to 11 plus papers, on the top, on the right hand side, you see 11 plus English past papers. So if you click on that, these are the best comprehensions. We have like more than hundreds of comprehensions and creative writings available. You can definitely subscribe to this pack. That will help you a lot, because the beauty of this pack is the answers are supported with hints, answer explanation, and everything. So in the summer holidays, you can surely use these subscriptions. I will open one answer for you here. As you can see, we do have hints and we do have answers available. So all the detailed answers are written by Louise only. So you can definitely subscribe to our 11 plus English comprehension papers. Do you teach creative writing and verbal reasoning? Yes, definitely we do that. On our 11 plus courses page, you can see there are lots of courses available: algebra, geometry, summer intensive course, NVR course, and here we go, we do have the VR course as well. You can subscribe to our verbal reasoning course. We are offering 30% discount after today's lesson. You can use our coupon code and get 30% off. So there is and also, yeah, I forgot to mention, there is a creative writing course as well, which will be launching quite soon on our website. We do have a lot of video courses. If you are interested, you can find under videos, and all these courses are designed and developed by Louise only. So you can check. We do have 11 plus comprehension mastery course, as well as we do have creative writing mastery course. Just a note here, these are the recorded courses. These are not the live courses. If you're looking for live courses, then you need to go to our 11 plus courses page, and you can subscribe to the live courses. Lot of parents are asking questions about the recommended books. We will be sending that link to you in our email, along with along with the other important information which you can use it for the 11 plus exam. In how much time a child can cover 11 plus syllabus, and once the syllabus is covered, what is the next strategy for them? Is it more and more test? It is very difficult to answer how long it will take, but usually if you are starting from year 4, then, in year 4, you need to spend good 9 months to prepare the foundation. In year 5, maybe 7 to 8 months, and the rest of the time you can start with the papers. I can give you a very quick idea about our revision guide. So if you go to our 11 plus papers, at the bottom, you will see there is 11 plus revision and practice. This will be the great resource at this point of time, because all our tutors who are like having more than 10 plus years of experience, they have consolidated each and every concept and each and every chapter here. So you can surely buy our 11 plus revision subscription, because that will be very, very essential at this point of time. Can you email us the presentation? Yes, we will definitely email you the presentation. Who is teaching weekend classes? We have range of tutors. So, we can't tell you who is exactly teaching the classes, but what's more important for you is we have all 11 plus exam trained tutors. So you don't need to worry about who is taking the class, because our all tutors are highly trained, highly experienced. They are paper setters, paper examiners, so nothing to worry about. Thank you. Also, thanks to Luis for great session. My daughter really enjoyed it. That's glad to know. I hope our all master classes and all subscriptions are extremely helpful to all the parents in the last few weeks of the exam. Yeah, I think that's it. We have covered pretty much all the questions. Just to conclude this class, this master class, you can definitely visit our website, use a 30% off coupon code to waive off 30%. It's master 30. You can subscribe whichever subscription, whichever course you want. The offer is just valid for today. So take an advantage and use this coupon code master30 to get a good discount. I wish you all the best. Keep coming to our master classes, and we will be trying to give you as much as help as we can. All the best. Thank you. Have a lovely Sunday. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.